Hello, welcome everybody to our podcast, The Secret Life of. And today, my co-host Christine
Hi.
and me are going to talk about peak season.
We're right in amongst it.
And we're in it. Retail calls it the golden quarter, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also, this is a premiere. This is the first time ever we're utilizing the new camera. Hey everyone.
Oh, hello.
to record a video feed of our podcast. So if everything goes well, then you can watch us on YouTube. And if it doesn't go well, then you can still listen to us anyway. So we'll see how this goes.
Sounds good.
And how it's going to be edited together, because the sound is coming from the podcast setup and then the video is coming from the camera. And me with limited editing skills, I might not be able to put it together.
You fake it pretty well.
We'll find out, right?
You're pretty good.
I'm getting there. All right, so we are in quarter four. We are in the 1st of November.
Mm-hmm.
Mariah Carey is here. It's time. Christmas season is officially started because of her.
She hasn't dropped her song yet, has she?
Hours
it's
away.
in the US.
It must be hours away, right?
Yeah.
So all the gays are, of course, excited to see what she's which, if you know, you know. Every year on the 1st of November, there is a video clip of her getting either defrosted or going from a witch to "It's Time for Christmas," and then "All I Want for Christmas" is playing. Mm-hmm. But for us in the business, that also means that it's now go time to rack in the money. And especially in retail, in e-commerce, obviously, it is a big quarter ahead.
Massive.
And it's actually starting a lot earlier. So you were just giving me facts before.
I did a little
really
bit of research,
yeah.
but on ChatGPT. I love my ChatGPT. So look, interestingly, last year I went in to buy a dress and I was in Chic. I don't often actually walk into a store. I normally do it all online. And they were talking about the summer carnival and how everything's just literally running off the shelves. And I suddenly realised peak season for Australia starts during the racing spring carnival. Sorry, did I say summer carnival? I meant spring. So the racing spring carnival starts mid-October, goes through to November, and then we have Black Friday on typically around the 26th to 29th, the day after Thanksgiving. And then we have, and that goes through to Cyber Monday.
Yeah.
Then we've got Boxing Day. Then we've got the clearances that
It's
go
ongoing, right?
through to the end of January. So that is a really long time, right?
It's actually, everybody says it's the golden quarter. It's actually a bit longer.
Yeah.
It got extended on either end quite a bit.
With the racing carnival.
Which is really smart from retail companies to trigger you as much as they can adjacent to Christmas, because it's the biggest shopping season of the year. So obviously you try to extend that Christmas period out to as much as you can, so consumers are just triggered and buy. But it's also interesting on what we as consumers perceive as a peak season might not be the peak season that supply chain perceives, because it's so different for supply chain as well. If you buy something in, let's stick around Christmas is the easiest example. You buy something, like if you're like me, you're like a last minute Christmas present panic buyer for the last decades. Then all the stock needs to be there ready to go in stores. And that actually, if we talk about retail, happens from August, September into October, where the stores need to have their Christmas sorted out.
They need to be prepped.
Yeah, they need to be fully prepped. So you have this massive peak in deliveries coming into Australia, getting then spread out into the stock needs to go to the stores. You need to have your sale available. And then from mid-October to November, beginning of November, it starts shifting away from the easier part, which is cartons going to stores. And you then need to focus on e-commerce, which is much harder because it's single items that you need to send to customers. And I order online. I order small quantities, obviously. So I just got a shout out to the Iconic. I just ordered something from the Iconic yesterday and it arrived today at 9 a.m, which is amazing.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I really like it. And if you know me, it's green. It's either green or a light color.
It's definitely green.
There's a green piece and a white piece in there, which I love the combination. But it's also, that is 2 pieces in a small bag. and it's so different to 100 cartons going to a store.
Yeah, much
So,
difficult,
yeah,
more
yeah,
difficult to manage and to plan. And that's, I'm guessing, where the peak comes from. So I was looking again at the peaks. So you're talking about the prep versus the sales. The sales, I always thought it was around Boxing Day, right? But apparently the peak in Australia is Black Friday.
Yeah.
So according to good old ChatGPT again, we spent $6.2 billion between Black Friday to Cyber Monday, which is a $200 million increase over the previous year.
For people who don't know Black Friday, when is Black Friday?
The day after Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is a thing. It didn't used to be a thing in Australia.
No, it was tiny.
And now it's really becoming a thing, hence the increase. Because we're copying the US and everything's global now, and you can buy things from around the world, and then we hook into it just like we have with Halloween.
Yeah. I mean, I just wanted to say, it's just like Halloween, right?
Yeah.
We had monsters running around in the office yesterday because it was the 31st.
We sure did.
Great, but roll the dice back 10 years, nobody would ever consider Halloween, right?
Not even kids.
Yeah, and now it's huge globally, and it's a commercialized holiday, as every holiday nowadays is.
It really is.
But yeah, it's absolutely, and then you have Thanksgiving and you have Black Friday, and Black Friday being such a big shopping day, which to me makes, from a time perspective as a consumer, it makes a lot more sense, because Black Friday gives me a bit of time to Christmas.
Yeah.
Whereby Boxing Day is game over.
And that's why it's so much bigger.
Yeah.
So there's more sales made. It's also a bigger increase because we're coming on board with the whole concept. Whereas Boxing Day is only 1.25 billion on the day, and it's 6.2 billion between Black Friday and Cyber.
Isn't Boxing Day also the day where you return your gifts?
Yes.
Traditionally.
You didn't like this. Let me get another one.
It's the different challenge again, right? Yeah. Because Boxing Day I remember when we lived in the CBD. Now we live in Elizabeth Bay, where in Sydney you don't see that. But in the CBD, it was very visual in front of you when you left your house. That people queuing up in the morning for Boxing Day.
For the doors to open.
For the doors to open, and a lot of them were actually returns.
Yeah, right.
Return gifts to go back into the store to get a store credit.
You could see them with bags.
Yeah, you could see them with bags. And returns is always a nightmare for any business, for supply chain specifically, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like online orders reversed. You get a lot of crap back, and you need to quality assess it.
Right. Yeah, it's double
it's
work.
massive. It's massive. It would be super interesting to figure out how much. I know the returns that Amazon processes in the US on a daily basis is mind-blowing.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting fact. I'll look that one up for our next podcast.
Yeah, because they're running return logistics facilities. I don't call them warehouses, where they process, I think, 1 million items an hour or something like that. If not even more.
Wow.
Please fact check me. And the interesting piece is you only have a very short amount of time to get all this volume in, assess it, and then either get it for garbage, send it back to the company who owns the goods, which if you don't sell it as Amazon owning it, if it's from the marketplace, or it goes back to the Amazon fulfillment center. And there are a couple of rules, and it's not only Amazon, it's everybody really, where you say if the value of the product is below a certain amount,
don't bother.
I either want the customer to send it back to me as proof that it's a return, but I actually just going to trash it because the cost of assessing it and sorting it, it's higher than the margin I will make on the good.
Yeah.
So there's there's huge piles of garbage that are totally fine goods that have never actually touched the consumer except for once, and then they've been returned and they just go to garbage.
See, the sustainability issue and environmental issue on that is dreadful. The plastics that it gets all wrapped up in. B, the fact that it would be nice if they gave it back to the salvos, but they're probably going to put it in landfill.
You ship it back and forth, and it goes in the end, it ends up in a landfill.
Yeah.
I actually believe that, well, me personally, I never, ever return something. If it doesn't fit me, it will be a hand me to somebody that it might fit.
Red Cross.
Or Red Cross, or it goes into the box that we have, the building where you can, like Whitechapel, whatever it's called.
Do you have one in your building?
Not in our building, but it goes by. It's
Wayside Chapel.
Yeah.
Oh, so you walk past Wayside Chapel
I just
and
want,
stick it,
and stick it in.
nice.
Yeah, because why would I return it to somebody who then trashes it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
I
point.
might as well. And
Give it to the needy.
it's what? It's a $30, $20 thing sometimes. Why would I bother getting a return for $20?
Oh, come on, Carl. Who are you kidding? You don't buy $20
I do.
outfits.
I
Really?
do. I do. I love those T-shirts.
Yeah.
$20.
Really?
And I have 10 of them, obviously,
Good
because
value.
it's green.
Where do you get them from?
This one was ASOS, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
good value.
Yeah. If I see something that is green and nice, I'm like, okay, 5. Get me 5.
I just came back from Singapore and I bought 3 for $5.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
I did we're getting off topic, but it's so funny
Yeah,
because
sorry.
I did my laundry when I came back from Bangkok, and I usually don't put anything in the dryer. I don't put T-shirts in the dryer. I just hang them up.
Just shrink.
Yeah, and the drying rack was, I think it was like nearly all of it was green T-shirts.
You're
was
really
looking
on
at it
the
like,
theme, aren't you?
This is turning out to be an obsession.
Yes, you're turning into me.
Yeah. But I mean, coming back to returns is a real struggle.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to see the origin of returns, so to speak, Boxing Day as one of the big ones, where people just return Christmas presents in the stores, and how that is managed. At least when you return it to a store, usually the store will keep it in store and try to resell it there. If it's online and you return it online, if it's a cheap-ish product, it'll go garbage pile.
Managing returns is just a whole drama in itself. We could do a whole podcast on managing
maybe we
returns.
should, yeah.
I reckon we
We
should.
should, yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
we'll do that next time. Because
a-
the evolution of it is amazing. You know, there's freight cost implications, there's labour implications, there's landfill. There's so many implications. And getting it right and getting the formula right, it means, I think in many cases, the difference between a successful business and a non-successful business.
I agree.
don't buy anywhere unless I check out the returns policy. If I
Really?
can't, if I can't return it, I won't
See,
do
I never
it.
check out the returns policy because I don't return.
Yeah, see, I do because I don't trust that it's going to fit me.
Worst non-return of my life was pants that I bought off Farfetch.
Oh my God, that would not have been cheap.
Not even cheap, and they were North Face or whatever it's called, the brand. Yeah. So not a cheap brand. And they looked great online, and I tried them on. I was like, this is not what I thought it's going to be. And I did not return it. That's fine. I didn't return it.
That
But
would have been an expensive purchase.
some person of that Glove collection will have some really, really nice
Yes,
high-end.
some
Keeps you warm.
homeless person
Yeah,
in
some homeless
King's
person
Cross is
will
going to
be-
be looking really trendy.
Real trendy when it's cold outside. Well, it keeps them dry and warm. So yeah.
That's very true. North
It's
Face.
fine. Yeah, North Face. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Keeps them very
a
cool.
North Face branded white and blue pants. They looked really cool online, and when I
What,
wore them, they were
striped?
just really thick.
Stripe, white and blue.
No, just white with one big blue stripe with North Face written.
Oh, okay. No, that looks.
It looked really good.
Okay, I'll
But
take your
anyway,
word for it.
not my fantasy when I got it. So
So,
we have,
what are the other implications of peak season?
well, you need to fulfill a lot of demand with usually the same resources that you have available to you, which means I don't have additional people, or I can organize casuals. So it comes at a cost, but that's okay.
Isn't there like a major surge in temporary staff around this time?
Massive.
Yeah.
Massive. And a lot of times you can't find certified people. So you can find temporary staff or you can find them for manual jobs that don't involve machinery. But if you need a forklift truck driver, good luck. Not going to find. It's so hard to find them. In peak, you need to pay extra. And that's manageable with good policies that you need to put in place on how do I manage casuals, how do I attract casuals, and that is branding of your HR brand really in the end, where companies need to not also consider how do I brand myself to the market, to my consumer, but I also need to brand myself to the labor market, because the short-term labor market is not that attractive, right? So how do I brand myself to be the one to go to work at a Christmas peak? Because Christmas peak in a warehouse is not fun.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Can't imagine anyone wanting
it's
to give up
mayhem.
their holidays to go in there.
Yeah, but then why would you go and like Iconic has casuals, right? Why would you work for Iconic Casuals? I think their image is really good.
Right. If you're going to go anywhere, you want to go to iconic, right?
See, and I think that's the game, right?
Yeah.
That needs to be the game plan. If you need to get casuals to think, if I'm gonna earn money during the Christmas season, I want to fatten up my budget. That's the company I want to work for.
Yeah.
Because you need to have that availability. And then the second one is, and that's a much harder one, is the equipment that I have. I cannot have casual equipment. So it's if I have a conveyor system or if I have any sort of warehouse automation, I can't just add more shuttles.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, that's it.
Yeah, for 3 days.
I have what I have, yeah.
Well, 3 months
Yeah.
maybe, but still. Yeah.
And then what we do every single day in when we do concepts for clients, what do you do? What do you design for, right? Do you design for the peak? Do you design for your average day? If you design for your average day, your return of investment will be good, usually, or otherwise you design a wrong system. But
Yeah,
if you
but
design
won't
for
cope with
peak,
peak.
it's not going to fly.
Yeah.
Because free.
Well, it will fly. It'd just be very
Well, like,
expensive.
No, because
It'd be doing
9
nothing
to
for-
10 months out of the
Yeah.
year, if I don't utilize equipment 9 to 10 months of the year, the ROI will not fly. Because it's standing equipment costs money
Absolutely.
and unrecoverable money, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then the question is, what do I do with the equipment that I have? Can I use it smarter?
So how do you do that? Because I know you have an answer.
Yes, mostly. If the system is designed well, first of all, and it copes with my average day really well, then I have maybe 10% overhead in there. Then if I go in with really smart ways how to use it, then I can create more capacity. What I mean by that is if I can shorten ways of machinery taking paths, or if I can eliminate empty transports where machinery is running but is transporting something empty and not something full, I really need to start playing with what is this thing really doing, and can I replace what it's doing with something more useful?
So
And that
you're
is actually
saying
increasing.
maximise what's actually
Yeah.
it's carrying.
Yeah.
So every day it might carry 1 or 2, and then on peak seasons it carries 6.
Yeah, so
Is
if
that
I,
what you're saying?
If I have, look at it from a perspective of a conveyor. Conveyor is a super example, easy example, because let's say there's a conveyor that can transport 500 boxes an hour. It's a slow one, but for us it will do. So those boxes can be full or empty. The conveyor doesn't care.
Yeah.
So if I'm in peak, I want to transport more full boxes than empty boxes. So there's a game to be played on how do I prepare for my peak, and do I utilize the conveyor to only transport full boxes in my peak, and do I move empty boxes beforehand? Or do I just say, you know what, empty boxes, I can easily lift them with a person, with a casual. I can put them on a pallet, and I can move the pallet where I need my empty boxes, and I don't use the conveyor. I use the conveyor for my full boxes, which are heavy and would have a health and safety implication. If I need to do this 8 or 10 hours a day, I can't lift that much.
Right.
But I can lift empty totes,
Yeah.
for example. That's easier. So
Interesting.
start thinking about, what do I do with the capacity available, and do I just move something out of it? That's one way.
Yep.
And the other way is, if I have a more complex solution, if I have robotics, or if I have a shuttle system, and if any ASRS, do I actually then start optimizing how this thing moves? And that I can do by saying, I can, if I don't have something like a pouch sorter, do I start positioning my stock predictively close to where I am consuming it? With a predicted forecast, and you use machine learning for it. Where you say, okay, that's the most likely product that I'm going to need the most out of this whole system. I'm going to move this really close to my peak station. Therefore, my machinery is actually used less for this product, so I can use it more for another product. And because this product uses a lot of movements, the other product means it's not one product, it might be 10 different products that are now have shuffled capacity available for 10 other movements.
Right. And
So,
predicting
yeah.
what those products are is the key, right?
Predicting what these products are and reacting to trends.
Yeah. So how do you do that? That's the tricky thing, right?
I think we discussed this off podcast
Yeah, it
maybe.
was off. No, I think it was your keynote. I don't think we've discussed it on a podcast.
We haven't discussed the social media piece, right?
That's the key.
Yeah.
I don't think we've even discussed the forecasting.
Yeah. So again, really interesting on what does a forecast mean nowadays.
Right.
Because if I'm mainly now in online, stores again is a different story. A lot easier to predict because forecasts come in from the stores, how much they can actually cope with.
Mm-hmm.
Online, I have no idea what people are going to order. I have a good idea if I have repetitive products, but if I'm like most businesses, I'm at the mercy of social media influencers. I'm at the mercy of fashion trends. I'm at the mercy of particular weather. So all of those things actually are to be seen as data integrations that you should have. So TikTok, for example, you can start analyzing how well product placements are doing at TikTok. And
How much you mean by how an influencer's reach is and how much engagement the influencer's getting, and therefore how much impact they're having. Is that what you mean? Yeah. Okay.
So that's a really interesting data lake to mine, social media, and how much post engagement does an influencer get when they get paid to reflect a certain product. And that then means that this product has a higher likelihood of becoming a product that sells more than expected.
Yeah, right.
And then you react to it. Mm-hmm. But also, I mean, some of those things are new to the thinking pattern of people, which I think is social media is a new one.
Brand new. Don't know anyone that's taking that feed in.
But on the other hand, somebody like Coca-Cola is forecasting their supply chain with the weather.
Really?
For weekends.
So when it's warm, they sell more Coke.
Oh,
or they probably sell more everything, right?
If
more
it's a forecasted weekend that's warm in Australia, people barbecue and have soft drinks.
Yeah, right.
So
Makes
they're doing this since a very, very long time and very successfully.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're not the only ones. So weather has been added to forecasts for a very long time already. And I think it's really good for perishables, obviously.
Yeah.
Another thing is, we talked about that in the data security piece. How can you utilize new information that is now available? Like you can use image recognition and AI to go through certain neighborhoods and say, how many people have a pool? How many people have sunbeds next to the pool? How many sunbeds are broken? That's an example to say how many sunbeds will be sold in this neighborhood before Christmas because everybody wants to have their pool ready for Christmas.
And what, you get these images from satellite talking about sunbeds broken in someone's backyard? Hang on a second.
You can drone
what
fly.
What else are they seeing?
You can drone fly. What I'm really interested in would be to say, the more delivery drones we have, what happens to the video they capture? Because that is data.
Yeah.
That is really interesting. Because that's exactly the data set. So that's interesting.
Well, it depends if you're a sunbed manufacturer or not. Could be very interesting.
Yeah, more for others as well. But in a peak, I would always say, okay, how many data sources can I find? And even if they are not yet known or established in a supply chain, why not? Have a look at it. And because you have so many different sources telling you different things, you need to weigh them. It's like, okay, this is 20% reliable. This is 100% reliable. Yeah. This is, and then you get a really good picture of that's the most likely way that a product will behave in the foreseeable future, in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, month or so. And you don't need much longer than that for online because online is very fast changing anyway. Yeah,
so we've got new seasons now, haven't we? So instead of 3 seasons, we've got like 10.
Yeah, 10,
Zara
12.
started this theme according to Michelle. She was telling me about it yesterday.
They have 12 seasons,
Yeah, insane.
Crazy, insane.
Yeah. But you could also pull in a source that says, this pink dress last year did incredibly well, and now we're bringing out one that's a maxi dress that's the same shade of pink, but it's a different style, and then therefore we can probably follow that it's going to follow the same trend, and that's 30% of the influence, and then 20% of the influence is the influencer that has been tweeting or TikToking, and then we've got the...
And I think the sooner you start with especially that piece of social media analysis and post analysis, the better you will find out that certain influencers, although they have a far reach, that they are the people that they like their posts or that engage with them, they might not buy anything. So I think there is an interesting piece to say which influencer has a lot of reach and it results into a sale,
Oh,
and
right,
which
that's
influencer has a lot of because a lot of times when you watch YouTube, right, they all now start plugging certain products. A lot of times people will just fast forward through this.
Right.
But if it is a product review on TikTok or a product review on YouTube, wherever it is, right, that might be a different game because then it's specifically about the product.
Yeah.
So I think there's a huge difference in how the product is positioned. If it is an in-video advertisement, or if it is the whole video is about like a 30 seconds video, 1 minute video, a short about a product review. And I think there are a lot of differences here.
And you can have a look at the comments as well. So some of the comments might be positive or negative, and then you've got the whole sentiment analysis conversation around checking out the comments and seeing whether it actually is positive or negative. Some people might not like it, right? But they're still commenting.
Yeah.
So if you just look at the number of comments, so there's a lot of...
Yeah, so you want to analyze. What I really like is to look at how many likes did something get, how many comments did it get, keywords in the comments.
Yes.
So you can really dig down and categorize the likelihood of sale per post if you really want to.
You could even go to the location. Really actually, no, I don't know that you've got the location of people that comment, do you?
Not really, no.
But that would be interesting. Maybe the location of the influencer, and then try and figure out, which stores are most likely to have an impact.
Yeah.
That would be more difficult.
But it's so rewarding if you can get it. If you can crack it, it would be super rewarding because it's such a good... I think it's the most accurate consumer data prediction you can get nowadays because everybody... 10 years ago, there was no influencers. Now it's the major way of advertising your product nowadays to most generations is influencers.
Yeah, I'd really like to see it though on a comparison, exactly what you were talking about before, looking at the ratings and the percentage of accuracy that these influencers have. And I know a lot of people, especially in the cosmetics industry, I know Gary, for example, spends a lot of time with Makeup Forever influencers to ensure that he is getting the right concept and the right focus for his products. And it has a direct impact.
Oh, it has to have, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, why bother?
Yeah.
Otherwise, companies would have not gone that far.
Yeah.
I mean, I've saw something, just to finish it off maybe, because
we're going over time?
No, but we're getting to the end of it. So just overarchingly, I would say Christmas peak is main season for most retailers, main season for a lot of businesses. In supply chain, it means a very unique challenge that is there because you need to fulfill that promise to the customer to deliver with limited capacity. So a lot of times it means coming to somebody like us to say, what can I do with my limited capacity? And I think that's really where our brain power is at home to say, what can we do with what is there? And how can we help you fulfill your promise? And how can we make sure it's the return of investment of what you put there in your supply chain is still okay and still valid and still working for everybody. So peak is, in that sense, really interesting to us in supply chain. And not only as a consumer, it's also really interesting in supply chain.
Yeah. And the stressful time in supply chain, right? And getting your return on investment to cope with peak season or getting the infrastructure to cope for peak season whilst you're still getting your return on investment for the other 9 months of the year. That's the key. And I know you've spoken a fair bit about that. We've got, as I said, we can probably do a whole podcast on this. But yeah,
we should do one on returns maybe.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Well, everybody out there, if you are fascinated like we are with anything that is hidden, that is not that well known, that is in a world that you might not see but you are affected by, like supply chain, let us know what you want to hear to discuss us next, and we'll take it on board. We might do this returns podcast, but also please send us any of your ideas, and we're super interested in your feedback. Until then, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, if the camera worked. If not,
a red light
just listening. And we'll see and hear from you really soon. Thank you.